This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman's source for new ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily News Hour magazine as a catalyst to make long-term dairy producers sustainable. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, to learn, and to participate. This is a no-complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. Here is your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
March 2016. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your one hour all dairy connection. We appreciate and express our appreciation for the opportunity we have to be involved in the dairy industry in a small way, to bring forward ideas, innovation, technology, and of course, as Stuart says in the introduction, a double dose of the markets. We have learned that in the long run, everything is about price. Everything is about price. How much we make, depends on what dairy farmers are getting paid. What dairy farmers are getting paid depends on supply and demand at any given time, and a multitude of factors that can either make or break, quite frankly, the long-term sustainability of dairy producers. I got a call from back east yesterday, and someone was talking and asking me, okay, so the CDFA produced these numbers yesterday, and it's an interesting bit of news and information, but produced their report on January 2016 production numbers, and literally kind of a synopsis of what was going on in 2015. And they bring forward the reality that California dairy producers have been, for 13 months in a row, reducing the total amount of milk being produced in the state of California compared to the 2015 numbers, 2014 numbers. When you go back 13 months, now you're actually looking at really the end of 2013, the beginning of the end of 2014 and the beginning of 2013. And so, 2015, the end of 14 and the beginning of 15. Let's get that right. And of course, when I talk to dairy producers about that, okay, so why are California producers reducing the amount of milk? And quite frankly, the response that has come from more than one source is the fact that there's just fewer dairies. People are going out of business, selling the herd, liquidating the cows, and stepping out. It isn't necessarily a conscious effort, and you have to also remember that the reduction in milk production that we're seeing are relative to growth numbers that were significant in 2013-14, okay, and early 15. That when we see some, we're down 0.3%, we're down 2.4%, and that's great. It's a whole lot better than being up 2.4%. But in America, the dairy numbers are always reporting the fact that, for instance, in Wisconsin, they have been up they have grown milk production by 4% per annum and more for a very long time. in a time when the dairy producer sector in Wisconsin is shrinking, and then even in California, when a major cooperative finds they need more milk, instead of incentivizing their existing producers to make more milk, they're out looking for more producers. Interesting. Why? Because they have more capacity. And what we've learned, of course, all along in this endeavor we've undertaken for the last 6 or 7 years is that they have always gambled, the processing world, the cooperative world has always gambled on the fact that dairy producers are going to just make more milk. They want to, and I get that, and we get that. We've seen it. I've had people say to me, Tom, I get up every day to breed better cows, to feed better rations, provide better care so that we can make more milk. Pushing efficiencies all the time and doing everything we can to be more efficient or get more efficient or increase production per cow at lower costs. But it all is tied to, and their reason for existence is to make more milk. That's their incentive. And of course, we'd like to change that mentality. I'd like to say, which would you rather have today, more milk in the tank or more money in the bank? And they're not always synonymous. Sometimes, yes. If price is higher, more milk is maybe better, but I'd rather have more price, a better price over a longer period of time for the milk that is produced in California, across the country, than I would rather have this volatility, which is extremely hard on everybody. It's always been this way. And the reason that it can be tied to that is, and we have proven it statistically over and over and over again, is that demand will be what demand is. And it rises and falls with political happenings, economies, incentives provided producers by governments to make more milk, to increase exports for that country and reduce their dependency on the buying of foreign goods by balancing their trade deficits. That comes into play. There, you get governments competing with U.S. dairy producers. Dairy producers in the United States having to compete not only with the cows and the farmers in those various countries, but they are competing with the governments themselves and their insatiable drive to create more revenues to balance their budgets and give them more revenue to do more things. So the demand's going to be what demand is. And it rises and falls with things like Russia, the value of the U.S. dollar, the value of the New Zealand currency, drought and or excessive rain, earthquakes in New Zealand, India becoming a major player. You know, India is the biggest producer of milk in the world. We talked about that earlier in the week. 68 million households with at least one cow. That means 68 million cows. No, they're not given, and some of them are buffaloes, for crying out loud. But that's what they do, and that's how they subsist and provide for their families and make some income. Because that's what it takes where they are to exist. And so, but that becomes formidable over time, especially as that country continues, like China, to I think, provide better care for their people, better opportunity, better nutrition, food for the young people, especially in China. Big drive. And it's no different than India. You couldn't find a mom in India, I'm sure, that isn't concerned about the health and welfare of her children, parents. And so they literally, with no land, they milk a cow. Feed that cow. Why? Because they can make milk for their family, and some of that actually goes into the national production of milk in India. And India is an exporter, believe it or not. And so these issues all make for an interesting day at the farm for American dairy producers. But price is everything. But so demand will be what demand will be, but the question is whether or not American and global dairy producers from the United Kingdom, from the EU, the 28, 29 countries that make up the European Union, other countries, including Australia and New Zealand, who have an opportunity to better determine what they get paid for their milk if they will be market responsive with their supply on the farm. And so we'll be always talking about that, and we're trying to say it in different ways so it can provide for dairy producers a maybe different perspective, because I've had this thinking the last week. In fact, it came. I have these little thoughts that keep me awake in the early morning hours or wake me up, and how important it is that the old Three Musketeers saying, all for one and one for all, how critical it will be in the coming weeks, months, and years that dairy producers adapt that line of thinking. That they're not, it's not just them, it's not just the one, it's all of them. And so we will continue to push that thinking, all for one and one for all. I know it's cliche, it's old, but by golly, what a difference it would make. And I advocate this and propose this. You know what? You've tried it this other way now for the last 15 to 30 years. And that has resulted in the demise of U.S. dairy producers by hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of dairies. In 1972, I have to look back at the numbers, but we're talking about more than 100,000 dairies in the United States in 1972. 9/11/2001, more than 70,000. And now less than 45,000 and shrinking. So there's something wrong with that, and it has to do with the sustainability. It isn't that they all wanted to leave or they all died. They just couldn't make money. And so that's a big issue. That's a very big issue. We're going to break into Ron O'Brien, who is a senior global strategist with Interfoods, and check on the markets today. We're going to try something a little bit different.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
About a minute till we open here. Once again, settling the block is 146 even, barrels 143 1/4. Stay with me. All right, everybody, this is Paul Chiro. Once again, selling the block at 145 even, down to penny with one low trading. Barrels selling 142.75, down a half. No low trading in the barrels. We're going to be back on here for non-fat. A couple few non-fat settled at 77 even. Stay with me.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment for non-fat. You are listening to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine. Welcome and good morning. We are listening to the blocks and barrel trades at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. We'll have this brief announcement and come right back.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
All right. We'll be joining the dry powder trades at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange in just a moment. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour Magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. The news this morning, relatively mild winter weather is keeping the milk flowing to Midwest cheese plants. Churning remains active. There is nothing to rally butter, cheese, and dry whey prices in the near future, is the next article. CWAP, California producers during the week ending February 26th sold 6.3 million pounds of non-fat dry milk at $77.62 per pound, down another 27 cents versus, or a 0.27 cents, excuse me, don't scare everybody, 0.27 cents versus the week prior. Cottage cheese has seen a resurgence as companies try to change the cottage cheese conversation. You know, cottage cheese is good stuff. There's a brand I just have all the time. Last night with some homemade applesauce. It was really good. Prices for milk powder, lactose, and rennet casein reported positive gains. You know, they say, and they were in the only part of the dairy trades yesterday at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange that showed positive numbers, and as blocks, barrels, and butter were down further. So, but you know, we're just basically seeing these little heartbeats at the bottom of the barrel, and so don't think things are taking a rally here for some reason. Sustained? Oh, it'd be great. Let's go 20 days on it. See what happens. Increase in dairy exports suggests that perhaps low prices are starting to filter through the demand side, and you know, and that's going to happen. If you were China today and you needed dry powder, guess what you could do? You could buy all you want for half price a year ago. Half price 18 months ago. Half price. And everybody would sell you all you want at half price. That doesn't help dairy producers. It only gives China a whole lot of powder at a very low price. And that's fine. Let's move it, clear it out, whatever it takes. Better than have to buy it and clear it out than us to have to pay to clear it out, but or to sit here and wait for it to go away. That's the worst possible decision we could make. Another article, China's doing, we're waiting for the powder trade, and we'll break to them as soon as they're fired up and ready to go there. But further news, Chinese import volumes are better. Their inventories are running down, so that should support prices. Nah, won't, because they're not going to come in on a sustained basis.
Got about 50 seconds till we open. Settling with 77 even here.
Oh my gosh, where have you heard that before? Okay, what is subsidized milk price?
No. Call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so going to settle right there at 78 even, up a penny. No loads traded. All right, no problem.
Before too long, we're going to have Ron O'Brien come on.
All right, keeps that set, settling at 78 even, up a penny with no loads trading. So, be back on here if you bought in a couple of few, butter sell 195.75. Thanks.
So that you can better understand what in the world happens when powder rises a penny, and that's great, up a penny, but no loads trade. Offer, somebody made the offer, but no loads trade, and boom, powder's up a penny. We're going to have to learn how that works and why it works that way. Back to our news, just to finish over, I went with overproduction due to subsidized milk in the European Union. fresh shock for dairy farmers as Mueller cuts milk prices again. Global dairy trade, I've not seen anything about the global dairy trade for yesterday. I was really surprised this morning's news does not carry anything on that right now. So I'm a little bit in the dark how that all transpired yesterday. But with Mueller dropping cut milk prices again, let's just see. Bring that article up so we could just test for a moment. Fresh shock for dairy farmers as Mueller cuts milk prices. Dairy farmers in the region have received a fresh shock after Mueller announced plans to cut more than 1 pence per liter from the price it pays for milk next month, starting next month. The market Drayton-based dairy giant has blamed a further downturn in the market for dairy producers for its decision to further slash its standard milk price by 1.35 pence from starting from April 1. The move, caused by a combination of high levels, of milk supply from farms and poor demand for dairy products, brings the price it will pay for a liter of milk to Mueller Milk Group suppliers to 20 pence per liter. It also deals a blow to farmers who began supplying to the group following the acquisition of Dairy Crest.
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Groppetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? Even a 15,000-mile service? There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Groppetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
All right, couple of few till we open here for butter. Settle at 195.75, so stay with me.
See how the elevator down and then you got to take the stairs back up? Yeah. Down 7.4, down 2.6, down at 10, more than 10% in the first two trading auctions held earlier in the month. The last one of the month, the first one of March, it comes up 1.4%, or about 10% of the decline, which is up. Okay.
Minutes till we open here.
A lower all-milk price, milk feed price ratio is a little lower. They're not as bad as the 1.9 we saw back in.
Hey, it's Ryland. Hey, man. So we got about 30 seconds till we open here. Settlement was 195.75 in butter. 30 seconds.
Average almost.
Yeah.
Per hundredweight, down $1.10 from December, $1.50 below January 15, and the lowest level since July 10.
Oh, man, I hope so. It's like 15 degrees when I walked out of the house. The wind was just blowing. Oh, I hate that. Yeah, hopefully it's going to warm up here soon. Coming up in the open.
Chicago weather he's talking about there.
We're open. No marks starting, nothing posted, no bids, no offers.
78 already. March the 2nd. 2 weren't too early, but boy, is it.
195 even bid on one by GTL.
I've got an apricot tree that's done blooming, but
Yeah.
March 2nd.
195 even bid on. Yes, sir. 96 even bid on one by Abby. We're up a quarter.
Cherry trees are starting to bloom out.
Yeah, we're up a quarter. Abby. Yeah, 196 even bid on one by Abby. No offer. We're at minute at 196 even bid on one by Abby. No offers. All right, 30 seconds till the call. 96 even bid on one Abby, no offers. 6.5 bid on one by Saw. We're up 75 on the day. 15 seconds till the call.
96.5, one win.
Abby chose a bid at 96.5, two bid at 96.5, one solid Abby. Comes to the call here. First call. Second call. 675 bid on one by Saw. Rub a penny. Three offered at 202 even by Trev. 202 even offer by Trev. 3 times. Posting. First call. 7 even bid on one by Saw. Has towards the offer 2 times, so a total of 5 offered at 202. Trev and Hess. Yeah, 97 even bid on one. First call. Second call. 7 1/4 bid on one by Saw. Up $1.50. Posting. First call. Second call. 7.5 bid on one by Saw. Rub $1.75. So 5 offered at 202 even. First call. Second call. 97.75 bid on one. 201 offer 3 times by Trev. 201 even offer 3 times. 97.75 bid on one by Saw. Posting. First call. Second call. 80 even bid on one by Saw. Run 2 1/4. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so we're going to settle right there. 198 even. Up 2 1/4. No loads traded.
As dairy farmers watch profits slip away and a wonderful way of life painfully comes to an end for future generations, Dairy Pricing Association sees a brighter future simply by having a solution. These dairy pricing farmer members in 10 states and growing have figured out a way. Government handouts are not the answer. It's time for farmers to take matters in their own hands. Dairy Pricing Association is asking for farmers to contribute 10 cents per hundredweight to buy surplus dairy products to create a floor price, as well as helping relieve hunger in America. This is a win-win. As dairy farmers, we watch markets fluctuate as much as $4 per hundredweight in 1 month's time. 10 cents is nothing. Imagine being able to curb another 2009 scenario simply by controlling the floor price that you need as a dairy farmer to stay in business. With the dairy products that you as a dairy pricing member purchase, thousands of people are fed. No government assistance is needed. Rather, simply you as a dairy farmer are helping yourself by helping others. For more information, visit online dairypricing.org.
The time for picnics and backyard barbecues is here. Schedule as many as you can because, well, the cold weather months, they just last too long. Make your cookouts and picnics extra special by including lots of delicious dairy products. Cheese for those hamburgers, cheese cubes to snack on, Frosties and ice cream to top off your cookout or picnic. Not only are these dairy products fun foods, they're downright delicious and nutritious. Presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
Allied Milk Producers.
All right. I love those Allied ads, and we've got to do a better job of getting more of the stuff from across the country. There's lots of great ads out there, and creativity exceeds all else at getting the point across and turning the speaker outward to consumers to encourage them with better taste and more nutrition in dairy to increase their level of consumption. Well, the cover this morning is going to be, and as I've been sitting here making some notes and listening to the markets this morning and thinking about what's possible. And we do advocate a very strong position on what to do and the steps. And as I meet with producers and vendors on a daily basis, my job, my personal responsibility is to delineate the what ifs. What if we did this? What if we did that? And get people thinking about the possibilities, because demand is going to be what we make of it. We have very little control over demand. We can influence demand, and I think one of the things that we're going to start advocating is that there are tremendous opportunities for increased utilization and consumption of milk in America, and that market increase for demand and utilization amounts to more than 30%. So what if we could unify dairy producers behind that concept, that we're going to put all of our time, energy, and efforts into pursuing the growth of demand and utilization domestic. Global's going to be what global's going to be, and we've outlined all the problems with global. Number one, it's unstable. Number two, you're competing with a lot of cows who are producing milk at lower cost than you are, and are able to bring it to the market at a lower cost, and their proximity to your markets or the markets is better than yours. You're also competing against government. So there's lots of ifs. Now, does global work sometimes? Yes, in 2014 it worked. Okay? Back in 2008 and 7 it worked. But that was a long time ago, and a lot of water under the bridge since then. So when global works, let's use it. We're not going to be stupid and say, oh, global doesn't matter. It matters. What they're doing out there matters, and what we can do when we can do it matters. But what matters the most in the producer's world and in everybody downstream from a dairy producer is profitability and getting the highest possible price for your milk now. So the law of supply and demand is in play, like it or not. We've got to be working together in the producer sector, all for one and one for all. Sorry, I'm going to say it a lot because I believe in it. And I heard it from a dairy producer, someone that I trust, someone who has great wisdom and understanding of the past and the present, and is projecting into the future, and said, work with your neighbor. All for one and one for all. You cannot be separate in your goals and in your methodology of getting from here to there. So what if we were all working together? Doug Maddox, a great mentor for me personally. I wished we had been together for 20 years. We weren't. Barely 2 from start to finish, maybe 3, but I think it was closer to 2. And I sat and listened, and his schedule didn't allow that to be as often as I would have preferred it. But he said this about that unification issue. If they thought and knew that you were pulling together and working together, it would rally the markets $4 a hundredweight. And I believe that to be true. Largely because he said it, but secondarily because the power is in supply. And if you don't believe power is in supply, because demand will be as demand is. There is no power in demand. Demand just comes and goes. Okay? But look what Saudi Arabia and the OPEC oil companies are doing with the supply. Whoa, power. That's power. Can you imagine? And none of us would have expected it. Nobody in their wildest dreams would believe that oil would be $35 and had been flirting below 30. Has been flirting. Don't know that it's going to go there and stay there. I don't think so. I think we're going to see some profiteering here now over time at all sectors. And the price of oil will inch its way back up. They made their point. They've caused a tremendous amount of havoc in the oil industry worldwide. They've proven what supply can do. And so where's the power? Remember this, guys. Where's the power? And that's what we're going to go out and push. That's kind of the new way to say it. It's the best example I can provide to you of how powerful those who are in control of supply are at any given time. Supply is power. And you can either extend the supply and increase it and profit from that because prices are high, but you got to do that carefully because what happens, we learned from this oil situation that as supply increased, what happened to price? When demand did not rise, supply pushed down price. And that's what's happened to milk, too. It's happened with nuts in California and across the state here. That's a big whammy. Holy cow. Demand goes away, supply is what it is in this case, and frankly cannot be changed. In that one, the best part about dairy is we could change it, and don't tell me we can't because we can, but you got to be unified, all for one and one for all. So, okay, what if we could unify? I'm going to write that down and work together. What if we would be market responsive to milk production relative to profitable demand in the marketplace? What if? What if we initiated an effort that allowed dairy producers to name their price, to determine what the price of milk is going to be based on what they need to provide profitability? Not a guaranteed profit, but guess what? Can supply change price? Supply always changes price. And so why not use that as your tool? You can do that. And you have the right to do that under the Capper-Volstead Act of 1922. So it's possible. Not only is it possible, but the OPEC oil industry has proven that, guess what? If you're in control of supply, you're in control of everything, including price. And for a long time, what they would do, simply to hold prices at $90 to $100 a barrel, is they would restrict supply as necessary to maintain pricing. This is one of the very first times in my lifetime that they have not done that. That as demand fell, they did not change production of oil and the introduction of more oil into the marketplace. And so what happened, as will always be the case, as the supply exceeded profitable demand, the price simply just came crashing down. From 90 and 100 and even 109, $110 a barrel, I don't think it ever got to 120. I'll have to go look, but that'd be an interesting number. What was, over the last 20 years, what was the price of oil and when did it do what? But they would always, the OPEC countries, you'd hear it all the time, they're going to increase the amount of oil on the market. They're going to decrease the amount of oil. We heard this all the time through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early decade of the 21st century. And now all of a sudden they reverse their philosophy and they maintain production even though demand has fallen, and that pushed price down. All right, so let's go to the next step. What if you could be there with some dollars because of your unification working together, and if these inventories, if you weren't able to be as market responsive with your milk production as you need to do, because you can't turn the cow off with a key. Okay, so we're not always going to read the tea leaves correctly, and maybe we've got too much milk and supplies begin to rise. What if you had some dollars, like this morning, with no loads trading, prices went up and down? What if you were there to set the price, the value of that butter, the value of that load of cheese, of powder? What if you determined what that price was going to be, and then let the market deal with it above that? But you weren't going to let it go any lower because you had some dollars, and you had decided that you're going to follow, what we've known we should do for a long time, and we're going to simply follow the admonition to impart of our excess to the poor and the needy. Feeding America, churches and organizations who provide food and subsistence to the needy of this country and around the world. Mostly in this country, I don't trust. You got to have really great connections to get food into foreign countries and not have it fall into the wrong hands and be used in the black market and never, ever reach who it was intended to reach. So it's possible, but it's you better have the right connections to make that happen. But domestically, you could control all that. There's good organizations that are audited. They provide a report of an accountability, which is great. All right, what if you began an initiative, what if working together, you began an initiative of 80,000 or bust, with the entire goal of improving the taste and quality of your dairy products? 80,000, what am I talking about? I'm talking about somatic cell count. Less than 80,000 is possible, but let's go to 80 first. Let's go to 200 and then down to 80, but let's get on with it. 400,000 is not acceptable. Anything higher than 200 is really ridiculous. You're not trying if you're over 200. But it is possible. 80,000 or bust. Why don't we begin an initiative? What if we could begin an initiative and funded the fortification of all milk to California standards nationwide, focused an entire marketing effort nationwide on better taste, more nutrition, and produce the facts? Better taste, more nutrition. What if? Well, those two things, fortification and the imparting of your excess, has the potential to increase demand and utilization of milk and milk products in the United States by as much as 30% of national production. 30% of national production could be impacted if dairy producers, what if, again, would be working together, all for one and one for all, with some positive objectives. Because we can't sit here and wait for demand to come back. It's not coming. We can't wait that long. You don't have that much money. $14 billion last year. Another $14 billion is literally at risk this year in total revenues that shoulda, coulda, would have been in the hands of dairy producers. We're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars per farm per year, because price matters. And the only way to extract a fair price from the marketplace is for you to be engaged in the same techniques that are used against you. Supply versus demand. It's not communism, guys, and I hear that. Oh, gosh, I can't believe it. Restricting supply? Are you kidding? It's just good business. You cannot afford to let your dairy be put to ruin so that you can balance the trade deficits in Ireland or New Zealand or any other country, or to make sure that you are the lowest price milk provider in the world. That's just crazy, and it's not necessary. So the way forward is to be proactive, to take charge of the situation, to take responsibility for all of your milk production whenever and wherever it is in the processing chain, whether it's on the front end, what you produce at the farm, what you deliver to the processor, to your cooperatives, what they do with it and what they turn it into, how they process it, oh boy, do we need to watch that and be more vigilant. Guess what? There's some we learned yesterday as our cover story. There's some problems there. There's things that we shouldn't be doing because consumers, I reject cellulose in those products because it isn't what I want in my food. Tail docking is an issue this morning, and there's a tremendous report out about the science of tail docking. Are you kidding? Is that a science, really? I think it is repulsive. And as a consumer, I didn't know it existed. I'm sorry. I never saw it on a farm anywhere here in California that I ever visited as a teenager and in my career. But I know it. I've seen the pictures now, and I've been on a farm or two where it was at, and I go, are you kidding? No. That's not what we should be doing. Why? Because I think the consumers would reject it. PST? No way. Why? Because consumers say no. High somatic cell counts, higher than 80,000? No. Shouldn't be doing that. We need to be picture perfect, and so we're going to continue to advocate those things that are necessary in order for us to prosper the producer sector of the dairy industry. Everyone else is fine. Sorry, but they're making money. They're even making money right now. Why? Because the number one cost of production for them is in the toilets. They're getting milk and milk products at the cheapest possible price. And if they can't get them cheap enough from you, they're going to go buy them outside the country. And so they import butterfat last year, twice as much butterfat as we exported last year. The very same people who are buying your milk did that to dairy producers in America. I don't think it's right. Why? Two reasons. Number one, dairy producers deserve a better shift. Number two is that I don't want to risk and put at risk the dairy industry in this country relative to consumer perception of safety, because we bring something into the country just because of the money at the lowest possible price, and it somehow has the ability, and it has the ability to contaminate the milk stream, the food stream in dairy, even if it's in one region or one part of the country or whatever it is, but it has the potential to harm the consumer's perception of safety. Those things weren't regulated. We don't know where it came from. We don't know who produced it, how it was produced, quality, is it tested? Finished goods are different than dairy products, but we better be testing the finished products as well. We don't need people to, cheese from where? Well, I don't know. They got sick on cheese. Milk from where? I don't know. They just got sick on it. And you talk to Chipotle about what it means when food safety becomes a question mark in your industry. They had sales drop 33%, and they've stayed there. What if 33% of the population of the United States said, you know what, I can't, I'm worried about dairy, so I'm going to avoid it. Let's do something else. Ouch. Big deal. And the fact is that we don't have a place to put that much milk if it's not getting used every single day, especially in fluid. So these are the what-ifs of the day. This is our cover story of the Agribusiness Dairyman NewsHour magazine on this day, the March 2, 2016. We appreciate you listening. We hope something we've said will strike a chord. Unification is the answer. Dairy producers doing proactively what is necessary, and the best part, what is possible. We don't have to stay here. There's no reason to remain in this condition for very long, because you can impact the price of milk. A dairy producer can. The power is in the supplier. Look at OPEC. It's true. And what they will fear the most, and why Doug was right about the movement of the market, $4 per hundredweight, is because that will put the fear in them. That they will have to reconcile what they pay dairy producers, because the dairy producers are in charge of the supply, and they're going to use that power to stay in the business. How many of you want to leave? Are you really? I'd like. That's going to be my big question. Do you want to stay in the dairy industry? Well, yes, I do. Well, then, are you going to help? Are you going to do something different than wait for demand to return? because that's what we had to do in 2009. We had to wait for demand return. It took 10, all of 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then now we're finally in 2014 before profitability returns to the industry, real profitability and return on investment for the decade, not decades, but tens and tens of months and quarters where dairy producers were losing money. Well, thank you for joining us. Everyone have a safe Wednesday, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. in the Pacific Time Zone, 11:30 in the East, for the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. Have a great day, and goodbye.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632#, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990, using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.